Welcome, everybody, to the Enemy's Perspective, a UteNation podcast, where today we're discussing the Utah UCLA matchup with Mike Regalado, who's with the Bruins Report Online. I'm your host, Matt Stanley. Mike, thanks for taking some time to talk to us today about some football.
Oh, dude, totally. I am so excited. We're almost there. We're within field goal range of the season. And 3 days now? We have some football. So I'm very excited and definitely excited to talk to you guys again. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for your time. Utah and UCLA kind of feel like in similar places right now, coming off a 5-7 season, but the Utah vibes are high right now. The optimism's high. And looking into UCLA, seeing what you guys are saying right now, you guys seem pretty optimistic about the season too. What are your and just the general fan base feelings about how things are going right now?
You know, things changed from the middle of spring camp to now. Prior to that, there were changes, much needed changes. One of the first changes that Deshaun Foster made was, in his first year, he had Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator, and he just ran a just way too complex offense that was stagnant at times. UCLA, I think, had the second worst run game in the nation. Not good for a head coach who was a stellar college and NFL running back, but he made a change at offensive coordinator, bringing in Indiana quarterback coach Tino Sunseri, who just has some absolutely fabulous hair. I call him Football Morrissey. It's awesome. But he comes in, and from what we're hearing, there's going to be a more balanced attack, simpler. We have Joey Aguilar coming in from, what was it, App State, I think. And he was looking okay. Wasn't, fireworks weren't going off, sirens weren't going off. That happened 2 weeks into camp when the whole thing with Nico Iamaleava broke that he's not going to return to Tennessee. He was looking for a landing spot, and it was funny, in the first 24 hours, people, fans, media were like, that would be cool if it happens. Can it happen? Things things haven't bounced UCLA's way in recent years. And then sure enough, by spring, he was a Bruin. So with that, just as a foundation to this new offense in Deshaun Foster's second year, there's the fan base is quite excited. Definitely having a former 5-star quarterback and a quarterback that led his last team to the college football playoff, that sits very well with the UCLA fans. So right now there's a lot of optimism, just as you were talking about, and rightly so. Both teams have new offensive coordinators, new quarterbacks who were just studs with their last team, and it's along with the spirit Deshaun Foster's trying to bring back. Now there's a little bit behind it. There's more momentum, and fans are getting right behind all of it.
Yeah, that sounds almost exactly like Utah situation right now. We've moved to a new offensive coordinator who has a more simple offense. Our last offensive coordinator had a very complex offense. Who it worked really good with the right people, but in these days when you seem to have, you never know who's coming, who's leaving. Right? There's a lot more turnover, especially at that quarterback position. Simpler offenses seem to do more because people need to pick it up quick. But now I'm glad you brought up Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah,
Iamaleava. All right. Hey, from now on it's just Nico. I said it right. Once I'm at 50% success rate, we're gonna call it good there. So Nico, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a pretty dramatic national story.
Yeah.
Where Nico, a lot of people only know of Nico because of that. How's the UCLA fan base feeling about that situation with him coming in? Do you worry about him if he has a good year or even a bad year? Just, is he going the highest bidder next year?
I mean, probably. I mean, in the world of NIL, players can, find better opportunities in college than the NFL. But if he has a really good year, let's say, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say they get to 10 wins, he's probably bolting to the NFL. So this is going to be an interesting year to see how well the team does and what that does for their future, not just with Nico, but other potential transfers, recruits. And that's one thing, too. There's been more life injected into the recruiting style of UCLA's coaches. They basically, especially the newer ones from this season, they've really hit the ground running, and they've already brought in several guys. So having a winning season would do wonders for UCLA, the program in general, just because there is all this other momentum that's been going on. So if what we're seeing from practice and from what we're hearing, and they have a good season, Nico could probably move on, but UCLA would probably put themselves in a really good spot to maybe pick out whatever quarterback is in the transfer portal again. Maybe one of the quarterbacks on the roster right now takes a jump. Nico's younger brother, Madden, is also on the team. They also have two other not that experienced, but guys who have been with the program that know what to expect from Foster. So, there's a lot of optimism, and really quickly, I'm kind of rambling on, but
you're good.
UCLA has been used to not having great seasons, and that's been felt at the beginning during the preseason. About a year ago now, there was not a lot of optimism. It's different. There's energy. There's a bit of a flow. There's a little bit of a buzz. But as far as talk of UCLA's offense, it's energizing right now.
Yeah, I don't want to say I was surprised, but once I started, this past week or so, trying to see what UCLA guys are saying, there's a lot more optimism than what I expected. Not that there's always high preseason and stuff, but I feel like I haven't seen quite that optimism from the UCLA, at least social media wise, coming out in the last couple of years. But so Nico, he's coming to you as a true junior or
redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore. Okay. All right. So last year he had 2,616 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. 70.5 QBR, 63.8% completion rate. Which for his sophomore year or his true redshirt freshman year, that's a good year. He was only sacked 12 times last year, but 5 of those were against Georgia, 4 of those were against Arkansas. So he had a really good offensive line last year. But when he started taking those pressures, like against Georgia, he threw only for 167 yards that game, 60.6, so just under 61% completion rate, no touchdowns. And Tennessee only put up 17 points. Against Arkansas, he took 4 sacks. They only put up 14 points that game. He had a sub 60% completion rate, 58.6, no touchdowns. So it seems to me like he does really good with a clean pocket from what I've watched on him. But under pressure, I think he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. He seems to take sacks as opposed to trying to rush that ball out. But his performance decreases dramatically under pressure. And with that note, UCLA last year's offensive line was leaky at best, right? It wasn't a good offensive line. And looking at your offensive line, looks like you have 2 returning starters, but you're bringing in 3 kind of unknown transfers coming in. And then your center, I don't even want to try to say this guy's name. But there's not much on him. He's not even 247, not even a transfer rated. Looks like he's visited a lot of schools and committed to several. Who is this guy? And how are you guys feeling about the offensive line rebuild? You have the same offensive line coach. Do you think you have the offensive line this year to be able to keep Nico in a clean pocket? Because I think that's going to be the biggest difference for you guys.
I'm hoping because, oddly enough, UCLA actually did have a decent passing game last year. Ethan Garbers, UCLA's quarterback, he actually threw for more yards than Nico Iamaleava. That's because Tennessee was more run heavy and UCLA couldn't run the ball to save their lives. Literally, like whenever they tried to run the ball, it's like the running back would run into a wall in between every gap, just closed off. But
Yeah.
I looked at the numbers a few weeks ago, and a lot of people on Twitter were surprised, and were thanking me for doing the average weight of UCLA's offensive linemen. Prior to this year, they were, I think in order, it was maybe 298 average, 301, 300. This year, it's up to 317.
Okay,
So
so you're heavier.
They have bulked up. Now, one thing we can say is that Chip Kelly did want lighter offensive linemen, quicker.
Okay.
But obviously, Chip Kelly's not here anymore.
I just want this out there right now. I hate Chip Kelly.
You're not the only one. Especially out here. You're not the only one.
I believe it.
But Tino Sinceri said he wants to play more physical football. He's a disciple of Nick Saban. And, just smashing into the defense. That's the kind of football he wants to run. And even Deshaun Foster has acknowledged that, it did irk him a little bit as a running back coach. He wants to see the run game, but he just wants to see a good, balanced offense, which it seems that they're going to have this year. Now, going back to the offensive line, they had to bring in some transfers, but what Robert Quan, the new offensive line coach, has done, you could see it in just the 4 weeks of spring, how much better the offensive line got. And so far from what we've seen in fall camp, they're continuing that. And there's just a lot of praise right now for the offensive line. And it seems like they're going to take a huge step forward. Now, they're not going to be Utah quality offensive line, but, guys like Garrett DeGiorgio, Sam Yoon, Ruben Onije, some of the guys that were here last year, some of them got injured, but it looks like everyone's ready to go. So this offensive line, as you asked previously, should be able to keep some heat off of Nico. But hopefully Nico can use his feet to run out, or as you say, take a sack rather than chance an interception. So there's much improvement there.
Yeah. Like I said, Nico seems like interceptions is not his problem by any means. So that's a good thing. And overall, sounds like you're feeling optimistic about the progress of your offensive line.
Yes.
We're about to find out. I think they're about to face a pretty strong defense. But you brought up Utah's offensive line. We have a strong offensive line this year, one of the top in the nation. We have Spencer Fano, who is projected easily a top 5 pick in the NFL draft if this year goes well for him, right? And then we have Caleb Lamu as well on the other side. The left tackle is Caleb Lamu, who also very possibly a first-round draft pick, right? So with that being said, who on your defensive front, who's the guy that you feel like is going to challenge our offensive line the most?
It's the interior. UCLA has actually prided itself on having, pretty solid edges, but they lost the core of guys that would get into the backfield are all in the NFL. Schlesinger, Medrano, Oladejo, and Jay Toya, all off to the professional ranks. So UCLA had to fill out those positions, and most of those guys. Schlesinger and Medrano were linebackers, but Femi was an edge, and he actually did well the second half of the season in the pass rushing spot. But right now, UCLA doesn't really have that guy. There's some guys that they brought in and some younger guys who look like they'll do a serviceable job. Who knows if they could actually, be monsters in the backfield. But this year, their strength is going to be the interior defensive line. Just 3 guys that we're just seeing a lot of good stuff from. They're just huge. Gary Smith III, who he's had injury problems, and I think the last time he played was 2 seasons ago, maybe 3, but he's been plagued with injuries, but he's good to go. That's okay. Just from a student athlete perspective, that's a really good dude, and you just love to see hear about these like bounce back stories, if you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Rebounding from injury, but you also got Keanu Williams, who played a ton last year, and Siale Tupaki, and those two are seasoned veterans. So, and especially they've been with UCLA's Akeka Malloy, the defensive coordinator. He used to be the defensive line coach, so they've been with him for at minimum 3 years. I'm forgetting what their class status is. But yeah, no, these are guys that know exactly what Malloy wants, and I think they're going to be pretty impressive. I kind of want to pick one to stand out, but kind of can't. They're all just being really productive and just filling their roles accordingly.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you think anybody's going to get a sack against Utah this Saturday? And if so, who's the most likely candidate to get that sack?
I'd say maybe if it's coming from a gap or something, maybe coming off the edge. John Vaughn's linebacker, I think he's probably one of the most likely. But I think if Gary Smith can somehow push his way through, maybe just on a chance play, he might be able to get in and hopefully get a sack.
Okay. So Devon Dampier, our new quarterback, last year with New Mexico with a meh offensive line, he took 4 sacks last year.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna have a hard time sacking him, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? And UCLA definitely, even Coach Whittingham, I can't remember what player he called out. He said UCLA has good defensive ends. They have good defensive lines. So that's something we're definitely looking at right there.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your offensive coordinator a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your defense coordinator. It's the second year in. Last year, UCLA's defense was, okay. All right. Not horrible, not great. I can't remember exactly where you fell in Big Ten rankings. But you have almost a whole new defense, right? You're turning a couple starters, right?
Yeah.
Almost everything's different. So that's why I call it almost a rebuild on defense. You do have the same defensive coordinator, but everybody's different. How are you guys feeling about your defense right now?
When D'Anton Lynn was there for Chip Kelly's final season at UCLA, he turned the defense around. And that's UCLA's luck. One year they'll have a really good offense and a bad defense. Well, that year they had a really good defense and a offense, because Chip Kelly was trying to balance 3 different quarterbacks, forcing Dante Moore to move on to Oregon. But last year, prior to last year, D'Anton Lynn bolted for USC. What the heck? Kind of obvious choice. Keke Malloy, who was the defensive line coach that year, to be promoted to defensive coordinator, and he basically kept the same scheme, the same overall game plan that Lynn brought, just being very aggressive, having aggressive edge rushers. We'll see how that works this year, but it just seems he just knows where, he puts his players in the best position to be successful. And we see that, game in and game out. They'll miss on, a few plays here, but they also don't quit. They don't really get angry. They don't take it out on other teams, but they also don't quit. They'll be down 2-3 touchdowns, and they're still fighting to the end. I like that fight, and I like that grit that Malloy has instilled in the players. And we've seen a lot of, you're talking about there were only 2 returners, so they had to hit the transfer portal. And it seems, it takes some time for a new player, to mesh with his new team. But so far, from what we're seeing from key transfers, Isaiah Chisholm from Oregon State, linebacker, Key Lawrence, safety from Ole Miss. These guys are already assimilating into the culture, as well as just adopting the scheme and trying to make it their own. So I love what Keke Malloy is doing, and I feel we're going to continue to have a very aggressive, even if the pass rush is questionable. They're still going to be very aggressive and fight, until that clock hits 0.
Awesome. Yeah, gotta love a nice physical defense, especially if we're going back to Pac-12 after dark. We need that from you.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, okay, we talked about defense. Let's go circle back to offense. What's your expectations for how they're going to attack Utah's defense? Which, by the way, I think is a very good defense. It might be. It's a tough defense, especially for your first game, right? So what are your expectations on how they're going to attack Utah's defense out the gate week 1?
Well, the good thing
I know there's a lot of question marks coming in.
Oh yeah. Like we don't even know. Like they still haven't even put out a depth chart. So
we're not going to get one unless there's a executive order about it.
But yeah, no, Deshaun Foster has kept things pretty close to the vest intentionally, at times angering the media. But
I understand that.
I get it. He new coordinator, new players. He doesn't want to give anything away. But I think if UCLA wants to establish a run, this probably isn't the best game to do it. But to run their offense, they're going to need to do it. They're going to have to try to figure out ways. Okay, that run didn't work, but what if we do this? What if we kick it out to the side? The passing game, I think, is going to be a little bit more explosive. Okay. UCLA, I truly believe that they have probably one of the top 5 receiving rooms in the Big Ten, and nobody knows about these guys just because UCLA just wasn't very successful. A lot of guys had injuries last year. But their receiving room is really good, led by true sophomore Quasi Gilmer, Titus Mokieo Atumalala. He's a veteran, and he knows what's expected of him. Mikey Matthews from Cal. That dude's a baller. I saw him.
That guy's from Utah first, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So they have some really good receivers. And with the way the poise that Nico brings – and his athleticism, I think probably the best way is to probably maybe do some mid routes passing game that could probably be effective. They want to try to spread out Utah as much as possible. You don't want to get a bunch of guys close to the ball and beat it out of you, but to maybe spread it out, especially through the passing game. Hopefully the run game can produce something, but I think it's going to be through the air if UCLA can get past the defense. Yeah,
and that's what I think of when I think of UCLA. Like I think of UCLA offense is a flashy pass game, right? And that's just my general impression. UCLA, they like to pass, right? So I feel like we got some bad corners coming up. You got Smith Snowden in there. Do you feel like you guys are going to be more successful on the sidelines, or are you going to be more successful over the middle trying to test our safeties?
That depends. I'm just generally interested to see what Tino Sinceri is going to do.
Okay.
But these receivers look pretty talented. We've seen them have go routes. We've seen him off to the side, passes in the flat. But the one thing that does stick out is that Nico is pretty freaking accurate. He has a strong arm.
Accurate guy. Absolutely.
He gets the ball right in the hands of the receivers. We were at the Rose Bowl for open practice, and it was basically a walkthrough. And so when the offense was going through, 11 versus 0, every time in the receiver's hands. And that's one thing I think is going to be a strength is being able to target, not only getting guys out into the open, but targeting them, getting the ball out to them quickly, and just trying to get as many yards after catch as possible.
So do you feel like Nico broadcasts a little bit on his, at least his first read? Because watching the last couple of days, I've been watching a little bit more of his Tennessee highlights, and a lot of them, he seems locked in, staring that guy down, but he has the accuracy to make up for that.
Yeah.
But do you feel like he's still broadcasting those throws a little too much?
He might. We've only seen a few plays, like goal line plays. We haven't really seen anything, 11 on 11 at the 50-yard line, whatever, 2nd and 3, 1st and 10, whatever it is. So we haven't seen him in action in that aspect. But from what we've seen, he is looking around more. He is looking to see what options are open. And it does seem like he has a few favorites, but he's making sure that all of his bases are covered. And just from what I've seen, it looks like he's doing a much better job of analyzing the entire field, not just seeing where his targets are, but also where the defense is, and just able to get it out to his receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an accurate quarterback for sure. So put yourself in the role of UCLA. You're a coach right now. You're developing a game plan to go against Utah. What position group of Utah are you most worried about right now? What's
Offensive line.
keeping you up at night? Sorry, say that
offensive
again.
line. They're
Okay,
just so good. Fano is just looking at some of his video highlights and whatnot from last year. It's like that dude is just an absolute athlete, and I can imagine he just got so much better, and just how that unit works all together. And they're just going to give Dampier so much time. It's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, UCLA has to figure out some way to disrupt that if they can. If not, they're going to probably have to just rely on their linebackers and secondary for most of the game, especially if they get into a passing attack. But yeah, I don't know. That offensive line just seems scary, and it's actually really excited to see them in person on Saturday.
So coming off that, Utah's offensive line, what scares you more right now, Utah's run attack or their passing game?
That's a hard one because I try to analyze that with I try to see what that could be with UCLA, and it's kind of hard to picture with Utah too. As the same thing. The only difference is the only difference is Utah has a proper offensive line. I just think the offensive coordinator, I'm blanking on his name. He just had a good system, and I think he just wants to try to have a balanced attack too. I think he's going to just try to shove the ball down not just UCLA's throat, but every team that they face. But I can also see that passing game just being absolute killer in some games. So I don't know. Like I would not want to be any of the coordinators right now trying to dissect this team.
Yeah, there's I'm sure there's a lot of stress going on in those rooms right now. So I don't obviously you've been focused on UCLA. I don't know how much time you spent on Utah or Devon Dampier specifically, but what are your thoughts? There's a lot of optimism and hype coming around the Utah community right now on Devon Dampier. What are your thoughts right now?
No, I like him. That's a hell of a good choice, and it seems like that OC QB combination is going around, and it should be successful. You're the architect of an offense where this quarterback was highly successful at. You get hired at Utah. It just seems like they could do some major damage. But yeah, they just seem scary, and it just all begins with that offensive line. I think Dampier is going to be able to do almost anything he wants on Saturday, and so yeah, UCLA is just going to have to really be on their toes. One thing that has been a weakness of UCLA is their secondary. Not a great passing defense, basically since Chip Kelly has been around. But they brought in some key guys, and they also brought in a Demetrius Martin, who's the secondary coach, who was a secondary coach under Jim Mora about a decade ago. And that was basically the last time they had a really good secondary. So I'm quite excited to see what he can do, if he can revamp these defensive backs. And if so, that's going to give a lot of passing teams a hard time.
Okay, nice. All right, so we put you in the position of UCLA's coaching staff. Put yourself now in the role of Utah's coaching staff, knowing what you know about UCLA. What would your plan of attack be if you were Utah right now? Guess I'm kind of asking for your weak links here.
Yeah, no, I would run the ball.
Okay.
As I said earlier, run defense has been a strength of UCLA, but it hasn't been as great. Doing the scouting, knowing what I know, I would know that you have to be careful with the defensive backs. But trying to run to the edge, getting space in the flat, 5 yards up, 5 yards, out into the sideline. Short game to really test UCLA's edges as well as their linebackers. But I would also, test the waters too. Like what was that scene in Jurassic Park where the dinosaurs are hitting the electric fence to see weaknesses in it? That's what you got to do. You got to hit. You got to look for the mismatches. You got to see, can this nickel, can this cornerback stick with our receivers? Yeah, if I was Utah, I just run it up the middle as much as possible, 50% of the time, and then find the weaknesses in the secondary.
Okay. All right. So keys back to UCLA's coaching staff mindset. If you could give me 3 keys, like these are the 3 things we need to win this game, what are they?
They need to get their run game going.
Okay.
They need to get into the backfield somehow. And I'm going to go with a special teams choice here. UCLA has a really good kicker in Mateen Bagani, but I think returns, punt and kick returns are going to be key. UCLA wasn't that successful in that last year, but if they can get themselves some good field position, keep the ball away from Utah's side of the field, and just keep pushing it towards UCLA's end zone, that's going to be huge as well. And I really like what Mikey Matthews. We've seen a few times, but it seems like he's going to be a kick returner.
Okay, cool.
Punt returner, I believe as well, but just fast.
I hope he has 11 great games as a kick returner.
I'm hoping for 13, but yeah, no, those are the 3 aspects where I think UCLA could really, if those are on par, if those are 100% perfectly executed, that could be a huge reason for UCLA getting a W on Saturday.
Absolutely. Slightly off topic, but how's things going for the Big Ten? How do you like the Big Ten so far? How's the Big Ten experience been, and compared to the Pac-12 experience?
It's been cool. Obviously, I've been from Los Angeles my entire life. Yep. Went to UCLA, covered the Pac-12. So I know all the teams from Seattle all the way down to Tucson, out to Salt Lake City. It was fun. It was great. But you just hear about these teams in passing because you sometimes play them in the non-conference. You play them in a bowl game. Obviously, the powerhouses of the Big Ten and the SEC are always going to the national championship game. So at least you know about those teams because of that exposure. But I quite like it. I think it's fun learning about new teams, traditions, getting deeper into that knowledge. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm also a geography nerd. I mean, a freaking map of California right here. So looking into where these colleges are, how do you get there? Well, what cities and counties and states do they represent? I'm nerding out on that aspect, but I do love learning about the histories of some of these teams. The only thing that bugs me, how the hell are you going to start with I's? Schools that start with I. There's no A, B, C, D team. I was talking to one of my a USC writer, and we were talking about that's so in the Pac-12 you had Arizona State, Colorado, blah blah blah. You knew the alphabet. We're starting with Illinois here, people. What is this?
So alphabetical order, that's what gets you, huh? You don't like being too far down the alphabet.
One little nagging thing. Doesn't even have anything to do with football or sports, but for some reason it annoys the hell out of me.
All right. That's the bugaboo. I like it. Bear traps in alphabetical order. Nice. All right. So back to the Big Ten. Where do you guys think UCLA is going to fit in the Big Ten? Are you looking at top 5, top 10, or the championship?
No, I don't think they're going to be in the top 5, but I think they are going to make an improvement. Looking at their schedule and looking at how it might land, I think UCLA could be definitely in the top 10. Definitely not a contender for the title, but I think they're going to be much improved. Definitely going to a bowl game. They surprisingly made it to 5-7 last year with that offense. And I think that offense is going to be much better, which is going to warrant a few more wins. So I think UCLA will be 8-4 this season. I actually put that on Twitter, and I thought people were going to say, "You're crazy, you're insane." Okay, well, the 4 USC fans did, but I was surprised that UCLA fans were like, "Oh, I could see them win 9 games, 10 games." I'm like, okay. I'm still going to be somewhat cautious on my predictions, but I can see them going 8-4 and getting back to a bowl game.
All right, yeah. Like I said, I feel like the UCLA fan base in general feels really optimistic right now. So betting odds, they've been floating around between Utah minus 5.5 to Utah minus 6.5. Let's average that out. Utah minus 6. What's your bet right now?
I'm going with what did I have last night? I did this one on my podcast. I'm predicting UCLA 30, Utah 26.
Okay.
I just think that if last year's team was only able to get 18 points, I think this year's team is going to be able to not only crack the 20-point mark, but play well above that. And I do think that Malloy's defense may surprise a little bit. Obviously, we have to see it to believe it. But, yeah, I think UCLA has this one in a 4-point win.
So you have UCLA winning by 4. Right?
Yeah.
30-26.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, it's been fun. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been our first of the season for The Enemy's Perspective. Special thanks to Mike Regalado.
Thank you, guys.
For coming on. Thank you so much to everybody for listening today. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more UteNation podcasts and coverage.